Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be talking about some really interesting ideas from Baruch Spinoza.
Yes.
Spinoza had some pretty complex ideas, but three of the ones that stand out are contingency, possibility, and necessity.
Yeah, those are big ones.
So maybe we can start by just kind of defining each of these, and then we can sort of see how they relate to each other and how Spinoza thought about them.
Okay, so why don't we start with contingency?
Okay.
So imagine you're walking down the street and boom, you bump into an old friend.
Yeah.
Pure chance, right?
Totally random.
Yeah. This is what we call contingency, things that seem to happen out of nowhere because we don't see all the events that led up to that moment.
Right. It seems random because we don't know the cause.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's contingency. What about possibility?
Possibility is like when you buy a lottery ticket,
Okay.
you could win,
Yeah, you could.
but it's not a sure thing.
Right. It's not guaranteed.
There are all these factors that are totally out of your control.
So it's somewhere between something that could happen and something that will happen.
Exactly. It's in this in-between space.
All right. I think I'm starting to see the difference here.
Okay.
So contingency is the unexpected possibility. What about necessity?
Your necessity is the realm of things that we can pretty much depend on.
Okay.
Like the sun rising every morning.
Yeah.
We expect that to happen.
Right.
Given what we know about the laws of physics, it seems inevitable.
Right. So it's kind of like the predictable realm of things.
Yeah, exactly.
We use these terms all the time, but I think Spinoza had a very specific and maybe unusual way of thinking about them.
Yeah, he definitely did.
So what did Spinoza have to say about contingency, possibility, and necessity that was different from maybe how we normally think about these?
Well, Spinoza really shook things up by saying that contingency and possibility are often illusions that come from our limited human perspective.
Okay.
For Spinoza, there was only one thing that was truly necessary, and that was God.
Okay.
Spinoza believed that God is a self-existing being,
Okay.
meaning that God's existence is built into God's very nature.
So God's essence contains God's existence.
Exactly. And everything else in the universe flows from this one necessary being.
Okay, so God is necessary, but everything else is not.
Right?
So what about things like the laws of physics?
Right.
Those seem pretty necessary.
Yeah, they do seem that way to us.
Uh-huh.
But Spinoza argued that even those fixed and unchanging laws are only necessary from our limited human point of view.
Okay.
We see the sun rise and we think, well, that's just how nature works.
Uh-huh.
But for Spinoza, that's just a tiny consequence of God's nature.
I get
It's
it.
like a little thread in this grand web of cause and effect that makes up reality.
Okay, so the sun still rises every morning,
Absolutely.
but our understanding of why that happens is limited. It makes you realize how much we take for granted,
Yeah,
how many assumptions we make about the world,
it's true.
just to try to make sense of it.
And Spinoza would say that when we don't know something, we tend to fill in the blanks with our imagination.
Oh, that's interesting.
And this can sometimes lead us down the wrong path
Okay.
because our mental picture of reality might not be accurate.
Yeah, we can make stuff up, basically,
Yeah, kind
or assume things,
Right.
and it can be totally wrong.
Exactly. And a good example of this is how people used to believe that the sun revolved around the earth.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed to make sense based on what they could see,
Uh-huh.
but they didn't have the full picture.
Right. They were missing some key information.
Right.
And because of that, they made the wrong assumption.
Exactly.
I think that happens all the time,
It does.
where we think we understand something, and then later we're like, oh, wait, I had that totally wrong
We've all been there.
because I was missing a key piece of information.
Yeah.
It's humbling.
It is. It is.
Have you ever had that experience
Oh, absolutely.
where you thought you knew something, and then it turned out you didn't?
All the time.
And for Spinoza, these moments are actually a crucial first step towards something really empowering.
Okay.
He believed that by using reason that's careful thinking and observation,
Uh-huh.
we can move from seeing things as just contingent or possible to understanding the underlying necessity.
Right. So instead of just accepting that the world is full of these random events,
Yeah.
we can use reason to uncover the order behind those events.
So it's not all random.
Not for Spinoza.
There's reasons behind everything.
There's a deeper order to things.
And by using reason, we can figure out what that order is.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like moving from a place of uncertainty and limited knowledge
Yeah.
to a more complete understanding of how things really are.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's kind of like how those early astronomers
Yeah.
eventually figured out that the Earth revolves around the sun.
Exactly.
They used observation and science and math to go beyond just what they could see with their eyes
Yeah.
and figure out the truth of the matter.
And Spinoza believed that this process could apply to all areas of life, not just astronomy.
So this journey from contingency to necessity,
Yeah.
it's not just about gathering information.
Right.
It's about changing how we see the world.
Absolutely.
It's about changing our perspective.
And he believed it leads to something even more profound, a sense of freedom and happiness.
Freedom and happiness?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. How do we get from contingency and necessity to freedom and happiness?
That's a great question, and that's what we're going to explore next.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and unpack that.
Sounds good. So before the break, we were getting to this really fascinating idea from Spinoza about how understanding the necessary order of the universe can actually lead to greater freedom and happiness.
It sounds kind of paradoxical.
It does, doesn't it?
Like, how can understanding necessity lead to freedom?
Well, Spinoza argued that when we truly understand the necessary order of things, we stop worrying so much about things that we can't control.
Okay.
It's like instead of getting caught up in all those what ifs,
Right.
we can focus on what is
Okay.
and what must be.
So it's about accepting reality as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Not trying to fight against it
Yeah.
or wishing things were different.
Right. And this leads to a deeper acceptance of reality and ultimately a more peaceful state of mind.
So it's like finding a sense of calm amidst the chaos.
Exactly. And this applies to all areas of life.
Okay.
Relationships, careers, fears, hopes, you name it.
So how would this work in practice?
Well, let's say you're facing a really tough challenge in your life.
Okay.
Maybe it's a health issue or a job loss or a difficult relationship.
Yeah, any of those.
Spinoza would say that instead of getting overwhelmed by anxiety or despair, try to step back and see the situation from a broader perspective.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what are the underlying causes of this situation? What are the forces at play that are beyond my control?
Okay, so it's kind of like understanding the bigger picture.
Right.
Recognizing the things that you can't change.
And once you've done that, you can then focus your energy on the things that you can control.
Okay, so it's not about giving up or resigning yourself to fate.
No, not at all.
It's about taking responsibility for your own actions and choices.
Exactly. It's about making the most of the situation you're in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And this is where Spinoza's ideas about reason and self-knowledge come in.
Right.
He believed that by understanding our own nature, our drives, our emotions, we can make choices that are more aligned with our true selves.
Okay, so it's about being self-aware.
Yeah, knowing yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your tendencies.
And then using that self-knowledge to make better decisions.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
It's like he's giving us a roadmap for navigating life's challenges.
Yeah, like a set of tools for dealing with the ups and downs.
And he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
What do you mean?
Well, Spinoza talks a lot about suffering and how it's an inevitable part of the human experience.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
But he also says that we don't have to be consumed by suffering,
Okay.
that we can learn to approach it with a sense of acceptance and even wisdom.
So it's not about pretending that suffering doesn't exist.
Right.
It's about learning to deal with it in a healthy way.
Exactly. And Spinoza believed that one of the best ways to deal with suffering is to cultivate a sense of gratitude for the good things in our lives.
Okay, so it's about focusing on the positive.
Yeah, appreciating the beauty and joy that's all around us, even when things are tough.
So it's about finding balance.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Finding balance between the good and the bad. The light and the dark.
And Spinoza also emphasizes the importance of connection.
Connection.
Yeah, connection with others, connection with nature, connection with something larger than ourselves.
So it's not just about individual self-improvement.
Right. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected.
That we're all part of something bigger. I think that's a really important message, especially in today's world where it's easy to feel isolated and alone.
It is. And Spinoza reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles.
That everyone experiences joy and sorrow, love and loss.
And that by supporting each other, we can make those experiences more bearable.
So it's about community, about compassion, about recognizing our shared humanity.
Yeah, and about finding meaning and purpose in our lives, even amidst the chaos and uncertainty.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From contingency and necessity to freedom and happiness to suffering and connection.
Spinoza's philosophy is really a tapestry of interconnected ideas.
It is, and it's a tapestry that's still relevant and inspiring today.
Absolutely.
Now, in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore how we can apply Spinoza's insights to our own lives.
I'm looking forward to it.
Spinoza's given us a lot to think about, hasn't he?
He really has.
From contingency and possibility and necessity.
Right, all those big ideas.
To this idea that true freedom comes from understanding the necessary order of things.
Yeah, and that by cultivating reason and self-knowledge,
Uh-huh.
we can actually achieve greater happiness and fulfillment.
Yeah, it's a really powerful message.
Yeah, it is.
But how do we actually apply this in our everyday lives?
Right. How do we take these abstract philosophical concepts and make them real?
Exactly. Because we're not all living in monasteries contemplating the universe.
Most of us are out here in the world.
Yeah, dealing with jobs and relationships and bills and all the stresses of modern life.
Right.
So how can Spinoza's philosophy help us navigate all of that?
Well, one thing that Spinoza really emphasized was the importance of perspective.
Okay.
He said that when we're facing challenges, it's easy to get caught up in our immediate emotions.
Yeah, we can get overwhelmed by fear or anger or frustration.
Exactly.
And that can cloud our judgment,
It can.
make it hard to see the situation clearly.
Right, and Spinoza would say that in those moments, it's crucial to step back and try to see the bigger picture.
Okay, so kind of like zooming out.
Yeah, getting some distance from the situation.
Yeah, so we can see it more objectively.
Exactly, and this isn't always easy to do.
No, it's not.
It takes practice.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like mindfulness.
It is very similar.
Learning to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Right, just noticing them without getting swept away by them.
Exactly. And when we can do that, when we can create that space between ourselves and our emotions, then we can start to see things more clearly.
We can make choices that are more aligned with our values.
And less reactive.
Exactly, less driven by fear or anger.
So how do we actually cultivate that kind of mindfulness?
Spinoza had a few suggestions.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One is to spend time in nature.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, he believed that being in nature can help us to connect with something larger than ourselves, to feel a sense of awe and wonder.
And that can help us to put our own problems in perspective.
Exactly.
It's like a reminder that our worries are often pretty small.
Compared to the vastness of the universe.
Right.
Another practice that Spinoza recommended was to cultivate gratitude,
Okay.
to focus on the good things in our lives.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the negative.
It is, especially in today's world.
Yeah, with all the bad news and social media and everything.
But Spinoza would say that even in the midst of difficulty, there's always something to be grateful for.
Always something to appreciate.
Yeah, even if there's just the simple fact that we're alive.
Right, or that we have people who love us.
Exactly. And when we focus on those things, it can really shift our perspective.
Makes us feel more positive.
And more resilient.
And finally, Spinoza believed that one of the most important things we can do is to connect with other people.
He saw community as essential for human flourishing.
Yeah, we're social creatures.
We need each other.
And when we feel connected to others, it gives us a sense of belonging.
Of purpose, of support.
And it helps us to remember that we're not alone in our struggles.
That's so important.
It is.
Especially in a world that can feel so isolating sometimes.
Yeah.
It can. And Spinoza believed that by cultivating these practices, by spending time in nature, by practicing gratitude, by connecting with others, we can move from a state of contingency to a state of necessity.
So from feeling like we're at the mercy of random events
to feeling more grounded,
more in control of our lives,
more connected to something larger than ourselves.
Wow. Spinoza's philosophy is really a gift, isn't it?
It is. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
And I think it's a gift that we can all benefit from.
I agree.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've explored some really profound ideas.
And I hope that our listeners have found it as insightful as I have.
Me too. I think Spinoza's philosophy has a lot to offer us.
It does.
Especially in these challenging times.
It gives us a way to find meaning and purpose.
To live with more joy and freedom.
To connect with each other.
And to embrace the beauty and wonder of the world around us.
So thank you for joining us on this journey.
And we hope that you'll continue to explore Spinoza's ideas on your own.
Because there's always more to discover